on the continent. We have the most sunshine throughout the year. Even with our floods at the moment, we still have enough sunshine to run great infrastructure on the continent. And for us, I always say that every time I hear this conversation around lack of power, I keep saying, why don't you come to Africa? We'll give you not only power, but green power to take off your carbon footprint of the face of the earth. And this conversation has been happening in Kenya. We have just set up our first green data center in Naivasha, which is just outside Nairobi. And Microsoft last week announced that they're setting up a 1 gig data center as well in Naivasha as well. And this is where we start giving back. It's not about Africa being a recipient of aid. This is how do we start flipping that conversation on what Africa can do in this AI process. Obviously, we still have our track card, which is our data that is still not available to anyone in the world. But now we also have our energy that is available to anyone in the world if they do. And with that, you're able to create employment for millions of young people. Obviously, there are 2 tracks in AI. It is the software engineering ML track, and there's the mechanical engineering where who's going to be building these data centers? Who's going to be building this and servicing all these IoT devices that we're building and robotics and all these things? We have a workforce on the continent. In the next 26 years, the continent will have 2.5 billion people. 75% of them will be young. 1 of every 3 young people, adults of working age will build the continent of Africa. And yes, AI will have eaten so many jobs, but will have created even more jobs. How can we take advantage of this quotient, both from an energy and a talent point of view, where Africa can now start giving back to the world? And that is my challenge during this room as you're thinking about Africa. It's not just about what you're giving to Africa, it's what can Africa give back to the world in terms of our talent and our energy. That's one thing I just wanted to be on the table.
I'll just do a quick response to that, and the answer is everything, right? The potential, and it's already being realized in so many parts of Africa, the potential to lead the digital revolution is present, growing, yet to be born, and should not be ignored, right? That's vital. On the solar energy, I remain a skeptic just because of the panels, which are built with Chinese technology. But should that technology be developed and the rare earth elements be processed in Africa, 1,000% behind that, that's awesome, and that's the way it should be. That there's local production for local use, to give the solutions, to provide the solutions, to commercialize the solutions for the world. That's mutually beneficial, and you create this virtual upcycle that I'm super excited about.
Yes, so Fiona, we'll go to you next, and then we'll go to the question in the audience. I just want to first stop one thing Bonnie mentioned about, I think Shikoh, to your point, a lot of the work that we're talking about in the U.S. now really is about, I think, the model that we need to get to is how do we help partners become more resilient? How do we become resilient together? Because there's a different model that's not about the same thing, right? It's much more extractive. And we know our history, we know that's happened in the past, and we are learning from our history, right? And the work that we need to do is how do we make sure that we identify the right partners to be able to work together cooperatively in a mutually beneficial way to make sure that we are also giving back in a way to help help our partners around the world help us. So the resilience, rather than sovereignty, I think resilience is a key word when you think about it as partners of nations, because sovereignty doesn't make as much sense today when we're in a digital world where the lines don't exist in the digital world, everyone's connected. So our kind of like physical ideas around sovereignty don't quite map into the digital world in a way that allows us to work together in a way that it is actually mutually beneficial. So when we think about resilience, that gives us a better framework to understand how do we work together in a way that makes ourselves collectively stronger rather than weaker. You know?